Hello, my name is Charles Evelyn, and this tutorial will cover the topics of aggregation and composition. Before we begin though, I think it's important to introduce the concept of single responsibility principle, introduced by Robert C. Martin. This principle states that every class should have a single responsibility, and that responsibility should be entirely encapsulated by the class. Simply put, objects should only be concerned with one primary function, which is managed by the class, the object's parent class. This leads up to the subject of inheritance, where according to Adobe, implies that in regards to inheritance, the attributes of an object that is derived or inherited from a particular class should be specific to that object, but not be a mirror of that object or the parent. There are two methods for making such distinctions. They are the principles of aggregation and composition. Aggregation is considered to have a has-a relationship to its parent object. When created, it gains the properties and methods from the object that created it. An example would be a dog object would gain fur, eyes, and and teeth from the mammal class. Composition also talks about the relationship between objects, and it has a relationship as well. The difference here is that objects created using composition, as the name implies, can compose or create its own properties and methods when being created. Using the dog reference again, the dog object can compose a tail object, an height object, or a weight object, or even an eye color object without a direct relationship to the mammal class. For a more intuitive explanation of the principles, let's switch over to Flash Builder to see this in action. So here's my Flash Builder file. And what I've done, I've imported my template and created an object, uh, named it main, and I created the dog class, or should I say comp dog class, which has a couple of properties, uh, namely the tail, height, and an eye color object. I've created getters and setters for each of these, and listed the values here. And I also have the values mimicking the properties. So in the main, let me step back to Flash Builder. One of the things I did, I just imported a silhouette of a dog, and I named it in my library just dog, and it has nine slice scaling attached to it. So back in the main, I created two references for the dog object. One I called Big Dog Spike, and I created a method here that calls a function called the same thing, Big Dog Spike. Big Dog Spike is set up as a new dog. I have added performed the add child function to add it to the stage, and I've given Spike an x coordinate, or an x variable and a y variable. And one of the things I did here was I put in the tail, uh, since I put it here as a string, and it's listed right here, I just added a string to the tail property of Spike. And as for Ike, I added Ike here directly to the stage. Ike is a new dog. It's coming from the Flash file. Here he is added to the stage. And I gave him an X and a Y as well. And I did the trace for Spike, correction for Ike. So when I ran this, as soon as I get to Flash to the running the IDE here, I should have made a label, but this is Ike and this is Spike. Ike was created through composition, and Ike was added through aggregation. And one of the things when I did a trace on Spike uh, on his tail, as listed here, it came up in the console panel. The trace for Ike also came up as well. But one of the things that I was not able to do, and that's because of aggregation as opposed to inheritance, I could not trace a height on Spike. But if you notice here, I do have a trace on Spike for his height. And if I try to save this with the trace on Ike, let me try to run this again. And there's the size on Ike, and there's the size on Spike. But just a little something to keep in mind here. Big Dog Ike was created via composition. His properties and values are listed here. Ike, the little dog, was actually added to the stage directly. He got some of the variables from the flash file that was included here. Well, that was my tutorial. I hope it made sense, and I hope it helped with the differentiation between aggregation and composition. Thank you very much.